All right, so welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name is Israel Solomon. I'm a visual artist located in Indianapolis, Indiana. And today I am working on an imaginary still life based on a moment that I experienced in my childhood. At the moment, I am working on a series of paintings for a show that I have opening up fairly soon titled Oasis. And these paintings are very imaginary, they're somewhat surreal, and some of them are based on experiences that I've had, or dreams I've had, or just my imagination. So, this particular piece that I'm working on right now is a still life, and the story behind it is based on the kitchen in the house that I grew up in when I was a kid. Um, it's not a one of one in regards to the room and how things are set up, but there's some similarities there. And the reason that I move things around is for the composition, the sake of the composition. For instance, the kitchen in the house that I grew up in had these yellowish green walls, and there was a stove that was sitting there on that particular wall, but the window is not located there. The window would have actually been to the right of, or behind the stove. But because of the composition and what I was trying to do, I wanted the window to be present, and I wanted it to be shining in on the table, the stove, and the still life. So this particular moment that I'm thinking about while I'm painting is one night. So for a little bit of more background, the house that I grew up in was connected to a church. My dad was the pastor of the church, and it was called Mount Sinai in Kokomo, Indiana. The church is still there, but it's now called New Hope. So we were in church a lot, almost every day. And I was real little, probably 5 or 6 years old, I'm guessing, because it's like a surreal, even memory that I have of this night. So this night, I believe, I could be wrong, that my church, Mount Sinai, was having a revival. And a revival is basically like a whole week of services in the evening. And then it ends, I believe, on Sunday with the evening service. So I guess it's sort of like a refreshing, maybe, where, people come in and there's different preachers and speakers every night. Sometimes there's different choirs that come to visit, different musicians every night. So I remember one of these nights, it was like a random day. It was probably like a Tuesday or something. I remember falling asleep in church, and I remember waking up and coming home and not feeling great and having this really, really bad nosebleed. I used to get nosebleeds a lot, and sometimes I still get them. But anyway, I had this bad nosebleed, and it seemed like it wasn't stopping. And one of the members of the church, I'm not going to say his name, opened up his Bible, and he started reading a verse. I was really young, so I can't really remember what verse he was reading. But all I can remember is him reading a verse out of the Bible and my nose stopping from bleeding. And as a kid, I was like, oh, wow, he read this verse and it made my nose stop bleeding. So that was like an impactful memory that I had at that time. It was, it's a very impactful thing when something like that happens to you as a child. So it's just in my memory. And it happened in that kitchen. So that's why I'm painting this scene. And The title of the painting, if I remember correctly, I came up with it a few days ago, is God Stopped My Nose from Bleeding, which is interesting because when someone looks at the painting, they're not gonna, they're gonna be like, what? But that'll give them an opportunity to ask me what the inspiration behind the painting is. And this painting is probably about 60 to 70% finished. Right now, as I'm working, you can see I'm blending in some colors in the wall back there, fading in some yellow greens, getting rid of that first layer of color and adding in that second layer of color. I like to layer a lot when I'm painting. I like to mix my oil paints with medium. Typically, I use liquid, which speeds up dry time and creates somewhat of a gloss. And what that lets me do is it lets me layer fairly quickly for oil paints. So using that medium, I can put down a layer of paint, come back to it the next day, maximum 2 days later, and layer right on top of it. So that helps me with that layering process. And if you look, at all the different things going on in the background and with the plants, with the pots, the vases, you can see where there are layers. Like in the window, that dark bluish sky, it's like a portal. It's like traveling back in time to that moment, so again, I try to make these pieces somewhat surreal and dreamlike. I hope you like this painting, and I hope that you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. Peace.